Hey Snapflash fam, Botswana's President Mokgweetsi Masisi made a powerful address at the 79th UN General Assembly. What urgent global issues did President Masisi call attention to, and how is Botswana playing a key role? Stick around to find out. Before we jump in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Snapflash for more updates on global events. Botswana's President, Mokgweetsi Masisi, delivered a stirring speech at the 79th UN General Assembly in New York. Addressing major global issues, he emphasized the need for international unity in tackling humanitarian crises, climate change, and conflicts like the Israeli-Hamas situation and the Ukraine war. Calling for peace and diplomacy, Masisi didn't shy away from urging world leaders to act swiftly.
We wish to reiterate the centrality of the two-state solution in resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the attainment of a just, comprehensive, and lasting peace. We therefore urge parties to commit to a political process that will pave the way for the realization of the two-state solution in which Palestine and Israel live side by side in peace and security based on the pre-1967 borders. Mr. President, the war in Ukraine also rages on, with no indication of an end in sight. We continue to underscore the need to respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, in line with the United Nations Charter and international law. We also call on parties to give diplomacy and dialogue a chance and to seek a peaceful resolution.
He also passionately spoke on Africa's challenges, especially ongoing armed conflicts.
In Africa, the guns still have not gone silent. We continue to grapple with armed conflict, terrorism, and potentially explosive geopolitical tensions. We commend the African Union, sub-regional bodies, as well as the UN for their efforts in addressing these challenges. In this vein, we welcome the adoption of United Nations Security Council Resolution 2719 of 2023 on the provision of support by the United Nations to AU-led peace support operations on a case-by-case basis and look forward to its operationalization. Mr. President, I must add that this time of escalated armed conflicts, violent crime and humanitarian crisis requires intensified efforts and more vigilance to protect human rights, advance humanitarian action, and promote the accountability in line with the UN Charter, international law, international humanitarian law, as well as relevant principles such as the responsibility to protect, or R2P. Mr. President, it is evident that peace is under strain across the world. It needs to be revitalized. However, that task cannot only be left to multilateral and regional bodies. Governments have a responsibility to create conditions that enable peace to thrive within their countries. Key steps that governments should take include, among others, building effective institutions, committing to good governance, protection of human rights, and upholding democratic values.
And highlighted the devastating effects of climate change. Southern Africa, he noted, is severely impacted by droughts and floods, affecting millions. He called for developed nations to honor their $100 billion climate finance commitments.
On the one hand, the scourge of war rages on. On the other hand, the promises of sustainable development is in great peril. It is deeply concerning that with only 6 years before the 2030 deadline, sustainable development goals are way off track. We learned from the latest Sustainable Development Goals report that only 17% of the goals are on track, while the rest range from moderate progress to stagnation and even regression. There's a lot of work to do. We must take inspiration from and build on the success achieved in the reduction in global child mortality, prevention of HIV infections, attaining girls' parity with boys in education, increased access to energy and the internet, while also scaling up action and investments in areas which are lagging far behind, particularly poverty eradication. The levels of extreme poverty remain disturbingly high, but we cannot attain sustainable development without eradicating poverty in all its forms and manifestations. Poverty eradication is the sine qua non of sustainable development. A comprehensive approach will be required to move the needle in the fight against poverty. We therefore endorse the call for comprehensive social protection systems and inclusive economic policies. Pro-poor policies should also be complemented and reinforced by policies which spur inclusive economic growth and create sustainable employment.
President Masisi proudly discussed Botswana's dedication to democracy, referencing the recent constitutional review and the upcoming general elections. He reiterated that good governance is the cornerstone of peace.
As many are aware, Botswana has a long track record of commitment to these democratic principles. The implementation of recommendations from our recently concluded constitutional review process, as well as our upcoming general elections on the 30th of October 2024, provide opportunities to deepen our democracy and strengthen our good governance credentials. Mr. President, regrettably,
Masisi's address leaves us all with a clear message. The time for action is now. He urged for solidarity and cooperation for the sake of future generations. Inspired by President Masisi's vision, subscribe to Snapflash for more coverage on global leaders shaping the future.